Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into something I find absolutely fascinating. We're unpacking the internal locus secret. Basically, we're going to figure out exactly why your motivation suddenly vanishes into thin air, and more importantly, how you can hack it right back. So let's start with a really fundamental question. Have you ever actually wondered why some people just seem to have this bottomless, endless supply of drive? You know the exact type of person I'm talking about, right? They face rejection, failure, massive roadblocks, and they just keep pushing forward with this insane energy. Meanwhile, the rest of us might completely quit after our very first setback. So what's the deal? Are they just wired differently? Well, it turns out, no. This really isn't about being born different. It all actually comes down to this super fascinating psychological rule that was discovered during a 1998 Columbia University study. A professor there, Claudia Mueller, ran an experiment that, honestly, completely rewires how we need to understand failure. Okay, let's look at exactly what happened. Professor Mueller took a large group of fifth graders and had them work independently on a series of really challenging puzzles. Now, regardless of how well each kid actually did, the researchers told all of them that they scored incredibly well, like better than most of the other kids. But, and this is the absolute crucial catch here, the students were split into two separate groups based on the specific type of praise they received right after. Half the kids were praised for being smart and naturally gifted, while the other half, they were praised purely for working hard. So what happened next? When they were given a new set of even harder puzzles, the differences in how they behaved were literally shocking. The kids who were told they were smart, they spent almost all their time on the easy puzzles, gave up super fast on the hard ones, and flat out admitted they just weren't having any fun. But the hard workers, man, they actively chose the harder puzzles. They spent way more time trying to solve them, and they actually loved the challenge. Think about that. Just a few different words of praise completely altered their internal drive. So what's the underlying mechanism here? Why did one group just instantly quit while the other completely thrived? It all boils down to one specific definition: locus of control. Basically, this is the degree to which you believe you actually have control over your own life. It's the core psychological concept at play here, and once you get it, it completely changes how you view your own success and, well, your own failures. This study perfectly illustrates that divide. The kids who were praised for being smart instantly developed what's called an external locus. They started believing success relies on completely uncontrollable factors, like innate talent or just dumb luck. So when things got tough, they felt completely helpless. But the kids praised for hard work, they developed an internal locus. They knew their success relied on their effort, which is something they have 100% control over. External thinkers basically see themselves as victims of circumstance, whereas internal thinkers, they're the masters of their own outcomes. Now, let's step out of the fifth grade classroom and into the real world. Think about one of the ultimate real-world motivation traps: old school door-to-door sales. This is an industry that is incredibly notorious for having one of the highest turnover rates on the planet. Most people literally only last a single week before throwing in the towel and quitting. And why? Because you have to be an incredibly motivated person to face hundreds and hundreds of rejections every single day. Our source material shares this brilliant insight from a former sales manager who worked in that brutal industry. Over time, he developed a really keen eye for spotting who would actually last and who was actually worth spending the energy to train. And to figure it out, all he had to do was ask one simple, high-stakes question to a new recruit after a brutal first day of making absolutely zero sales. He'd sit them down, look them in the eye, and ask, "Why do you think you made no sales today?" How they answered that one question told him literally everything he needed to know. The quitters, they'd immediately use classic external excuses. Things like, "Oh, the weather was bad," or "It's the weekend, people are busy," or "You just put me in the wrong neighborhood." When people make those kinds of excuses, they are proving they have a completely external locus of control. And here is the curse of that mindset. When you feel like absolutely nothing you do matters, you just stop knocking on doors. That is the real reason they fail. But the salespeople who actually survive and win, they operate completely differently. Winners know for a fact that more knocks plus harder work equals results. They have a rock-solid internal locus of control. They don't blame the rain or the neighborhood. They look right in the mirror. They know that applying more of their own effort directly leads to making that sale. So this brings us to the absolute most actionable part of this whole explainer. How do you actually fix your motivation? If you're sitting there realizing that maybe you make those excuses, or you feel like the world is kind of conspiring against you and you tend to quit when things get tough, how can you actively rewire your own brain to adopt this unstoppable internal locus mindset? Well, the answer is incredibly straightforward, but it does require some practice. The secret to hacking your motivation back is to start by solving really small problems in your everyday life. And then, and this is absolutely the most important part, you have to take the time to explicitly recognize and appreciate your own personal role in fixing them. Let me give you a really practical example from the source. Let's say you constantly struggle to fall asleep at night. Instead of just complaining about it and tossing and turning, you take control with 3 totally controllable actions. You decide to get morning sunlight, you use your bed strictly for sleeping, and you install a blue light filter on your phone. You actually put in the work. And what happens when you actually do those things? You get a totally tangible result. 15. When bedtime finally rolls around, you actually find yourself falling asleep 15 minutes faster. It's a really small but highly tangible victory that was born entirely from your own direct effort. Now, right here is where the real psychological rewiring actually happens. When you notice that 15-minute improvement, you cannot just shrug it off as a good night. You need to explicitly tell yourself out loud, I feel better because of the changes I made and because of the effort I put in. That exact self-talk, that is how you build a permanent internal locus. You're literally proving to your brain that your own actions have direct positive consequences. And hey, if you want to dive even deeper into building these kinds of habits, the source material highly recommends utilizing educational resources, like Skillshare, for example. They specifically highlight a Productivity Today course that's designed to literally train your attention span. By actively seeking out resources like that, learning how to focus, and getting more things done, you're taking proactive steps to really cement that internal locus of control. You're constantly proving to yourself that you can learn, adapt, and improve your own outcomes. We've covered some genuinely powerful concepts today, but I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. Ask yourself honestly right now, are you blaming the world or are you taking ownership of your own effort? It's time to stop relying on external excuses. Build the solid belief that you are entirely in control of your own destiny, and I promise you, you will never have issues with motivation ever again. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.